Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yoshai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kodash. Double honors into the elder apostles, the great millstone of all world. Shalom to the whole full elect. This is by Allah. And the title of this video is determined upon upload. But what I want to delve into is a few precepts that I got put together that really shows faith. Alright? Faith. Without faith it's impossible to please the Most High power. That's the key ingredient. And it's a gift from the Most High through His grace that is bestowed upon ultimately the elect. Alright? Many is called, but few are chosen. But if you're chosen, that means that you've been basically bestowed that gift. You've been given a gift of faith. And it's your birthright, it's your right, because you were chosen before the foundations of the earth. Alright, now in having that faith, there's many different attributes, different things that come with that. Alright, having a faith, it really, we're gonna go through manifold temptations up until the hour of temptation, the ultimate temptation, and all those manifold temptations. Hey, some you may fall short of, some you may pass with flying colors, others you may just about scrape through. Alright, but the point is that all of those lessons and those things that you go through, they rack up, or should I say, as you go through them all, they're basically gonna form you into the individual you need to be for that final temptation. Alright? And it's likened on to, really what our forefather John the Baptist was ushering in, basically pioneering, making a way for Yahweh Shai, which was the baptism. Alright? The Heavenly Father does everything in twos. Water and fire are both for purification. But when you go into the book of Leviticus, it speaks about water being used and fire being used for purification. Now, when John was on the scene, his baptism was a similitude, not an example, but a similitude. I'm trying to think of a less complex word. Oh, a pattern of things to come. Alright. He was basically showing that, yes, and he said it, I indeed baptize you with water, but he whose latchet I'm not worthy to tie, baptize you with fire. And he'll thoroughly purge the fan is in his hand, and he'll thoroughly purge his floor. So what Yahweh Shai has come to do is to purge us with fire. So we're likened unto gold and silver in a fining pot. Alright, the furnace of affliction. And those temptations is your affliction that will purge you thoroughly, get rid of that dross, and make you, find it a wedge of Ophir for that time to come. Because we know that, it says that 7 women shall take hold of one man, sorry. So in order for you to be that man, because the congregation of the Most High is with men, you need to go through that purging process. Alright, there's sisters in this as well, most definitely. But yeah, it starts with the men, okay, and normally ends with the men. Everyone's gonna get their reward according to their faith. So without further ado, I've got a couple scriptures. I'm going to go through them, and Lord willing, you be edified. So this is Matthew 6:26. It says, behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? Alright, so let's read it again. Behold the fowls of the air. Right, fowls of the air. So what's that speaking about? Speaking about the birds. Alright. For they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Right. So you see, really, even the way we live life wasn't meant to be so. We weren't meant to work, but we work with the sweat of our brow, all right? And in doing so, you do what you sow and you reap, all right? And in reaping, you take what you need and then you put some up into the storehouses to hold you down through the winter time. In the form of preserves, jams, marmalades, different things like that, pickling, all these different things that were done before, prior to refrigerators and freezers. All right. Basically, these are the things that you'd have to do in order to maintain yourself. But the birds, they go forth, every day they wake up and they just go out and they find food. All right. Yet your heavenly Father feedeth them, right? So the heavenly Father, as I said, they go out there and they find food, and that's by the will of the heavenly Father. When you go into Yahweh Shai spoke about doesn't 2 pennies go for a farthing. Sorry, are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? One of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. So the heavenly Father, His judgment is that thorough to the point that if a sparrow dies, the heavenly Father sanctions it. All right, that's a level of care and an eye for detail that is just, I can't even fathom that. When you see birds of a feather flock together, flying through the air in abundance, or you see a shoal of fish, all right, a murder of ravens, all these different things, these flocks of sheep, these numerous animals clustered together, moving. All right, the Heavenly Father knows every one of them. All right, he can name them. Not the numbers in your hair are the hairs in your head are numbered. All right, this is the level of the eye that the Heavenly Father has. All right, so let's read again. So it says, "For they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Yet your Heavenly Father feedeth them." Right, the Heavenly Father feedeth them. He is mindful of them. Are ye not much better than they? Yeah, we most definitely are better than them. All right. See, when you deal with, it tells you in the book of Proverbs, man, a righteous man, care, um, beast, righteous. Yeah, it says a righteous man regardeth the life of his beast. All right. So if a righteous man has a pet and it regards him, what so much more the Heavenly Father regards the life of his beast. We have the example in the book of Exodus when you had the prophet, basically spoke of the hell falling from heaven. You had those that believed on Moses, all right? Those are the Egyptians that believed the words of Moses. They basically took their servants and their beasts and placed them inside for cover, right? A place of cover. And that really shows you, it's funny because it shows you that they were righteous in that sense because they understood the words of the Heavenly Father, all right? But it also tells you that in the book of Job, it speaks about the ravens, right? Uh, yeah, he provided for the raven his food. When his young ones cry unto the Most High, they wonder for meat. So look, that's a fowl of the air. The Heavenly Father has total regard. He says, who feeds the ravens? The Heavenly Father feeds the ravens, all right? When their children are crying unto their mother, all right, their parent, that they want food and they're wondering about, the Heavenly Father provides them food. And when you deal with the ravens, they have a very complicated diet. Alright, it actually says if you feed them bread, that it'll basically um corrupt their hardwiring. It'll mess them up, alright, because it'll stop them from foraging, hunting for the things that they actually need in their diet to provide the correct nutrition. The things they need are more protein, seeds, insects, things of that nature. Alright, bread is a carb and it doesn't really provide the right sustenance that's necessary. So you can see something like that so complex is very necessary, alright, for the Heavenly Father to feed them the correct form of food. Alright, but let's build upon that in the book of Second Kings. Is it 15, 16, or 17? Alright, so I'll start from verse 1. This is 1 Kings 17:1. And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. Alright. And the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself in the brook of Cherith, that is before Jordan. Now this is deep, man, and this really shows you the faith of a prophet, alright? Because even now, where we stand, we go out on the highways and byways, starting with the elder apostles of Great Millstone. They're going out in the midst of America and saying America's going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. It's going to be known as a desert wasteland, alright? The lake of fire spoke of in the book of Revelation. And it says cormorants and scorpions and desert creatures are going to dance in the midst of the palaces, alright? Now, do you know what kind of will and faith it takes to go out there in the midst of America and say that's what's going to happen, believe it? That's going to turn into, a wall of fire is going to rage all up and down from coast to coast of America and make it into a hot furnace, but then know and believe that you're going to be delivered, even though that's going to be the case, alright? Because and before we even speak of that, we're talking about internment camps, alright? Different forms of death being brought forth, hard times, tempests, storm, all these different things. But you're saying it, and because you're the servant of the Heavenly Father, you believe that you have a covering and you're not going to be touched. But that shows great faith, because look, he said this, and then the word came after the fact and told him a place for security. Alright, so that shows you a great level of faith. Alright, verse 4, and it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. Now, if anyone knows what a brook is actually formed by way of rain, alright? So you have, I want to say mountains, but it may not even be mountains. It may just be hilly land, like land just built a certain type of way that filters the water from above, the rainwater that, formulates up there and then just pours down and then forms a brook, whereby, it's fresh water, a stream of fresh water, okay? But what's even more deep is that you have ravens flying and bringing food, for Elijah to eat, alright? So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord Yahweh, for he went and dwelt by the brook of Cherith, that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank the brook, right? So he got 2 meals a day of food and flesh. Mind you, what did I say? The raven's diet is complex. It doesn't eat bread, but it needs to eat flesh. So for these you just imagine how the Heavenly Father programmed these ravens. All right. When you deal with the angels, it tells you in the book of Sirach that they delight in doing the work of the Heavenly Father, and they basically won't break the ranks. All right. I'm thinking of Joel when I'm saying that. Delight. No, delight. Um, I spelled it wrong. I think. Angel. Let's try that out. Okay, that's how you spell Ben. Like Ben. All right, so this is as it says in Sirach 39:28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, with which in their fury lay on sore strokes in the time of destruction pour out force, and they appease the wrath of him that made them. All right, but basically they're created for a purpose, and they appease they fulfill what they're sent to do. Just like with these spirit that was put on these ravens. All right, you imagine the smell of the flesh and all this, man, they were hardwired to bring that food to Elijah, all right? And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land sea, all right? A brook is formed by the rain. So, I'm more than sure that this is, the technology of that time. These are things that you're more than aware of. So, the same way that he prophesied and was sent onto the brook and was fed by ravens twice a day, Elijah still maintained that faith and believed the Heavenly Father would take care of him. Verse 8, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto him, saying, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman to stay there to sustain them. All right. So you went from strength to strength. The Heavenly Father was taking care of them, and this is why we ought to arm ourselves with a mindset of that. Yeah, and the fact that we are more than that of the beasts of the field, the fowls of the air, the heavenly, and even beyond being a man. All right, which man has the dominion over the earth. All right, we have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and we're the mouthpieces of the Heavenly Father. We're on a whole different kind of level. All right. So I'll close out. This is Isaiah 65:13. Behold, thus saith the Lord, power Yahweh. Behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right, so the Heavenly Father has got his servants. And this is why, in Yahweh absence, what we ought to be doing is serving, all right? Being a servant of the Heavenly Father and doing the works that are necessary in order for us to attain salvation. Because this is all it's about, man. All right? We're all unprofitable servants, for we did that which we ought to do. We were blessed in that we're Israelites, all right? And the covenant that was placed upon us, all right, even though we weren't there, all right, but whoever was there, at that time, we were joined into that covenant, and it pertains to us still all now to this day. So everything we're doing, we're fine-tuned to do this, all right? If you ain't sighing and crying for the abominations that are done in the midst thereof, I don't know what. You're not of the elect, alright? This should be your spirit, your pure mind should be stirred up at the sight of the things that's going on before your mind. It should be a constant back and forth battle, as Paul said, alright? That which I ought to do, I do not, but that which I wish to do, wish not to do, I do, you know? Or that which I wish to do, it's a lot, just goes referred to Romans 7 and 8. But the point being is that this is a constant, it's an uphill battle, right? And Lord willing, it's about enduring onto the end, a battle of attrition that hopefully you endure unto the time of the end and receive that crown, being part of the elect, all right? So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Say shalom.